Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from our sponsor. The Daily Compliance News for March 28, 2022, the No Conflicts edition. And we begin with a story from the Houston Chronicle involving the great state of Texas. The mayor of Sugar Land, a suburb of Houston, has a dual role as the mayor of Sugar Land and Houston Region's Transportation Planning Board. But he also has a role at a consultant engineering firm that is bidding on a massive I-45 rebuild. A complaint was filed about clear conflict of interest. But the organization, the Houston Galveston Area Council, said, although it has ethics rules, it does not have any mechanisms to enforce them. The staff, the organization, no one has the authority to investigate an ethics complaint. So, what if you have an ethics program, but nobody pays any attention to it? And certainly with the mayor of Sugar Land, who is on the board of the Regional Transportation Committee, and also having a clear conflict of interest working for an engineering firm that is before the board for large projects, you might think there would be something said or could be done. But in the great state of Texas, apparently not. Next up, from the Wall Street Journal, reports that the Mayo Clinic is assessing Google AI as a tool to seek more insights from patient records. So here's the question I have for you. Do you want Google looking at your medical patient records? Now, I'm sure Google will say, we'll keep that private. We won't use that information, but this is Google. And so you have to wonder just how private your personal medical data would be after that, and who might get a hold of it. So, would you buy a used car from Google? Next up, from Reuters, 3M has lost 2 more lawsuits involving veterans who had their hearing damaged while using 3M earplugs. They lost another $58 million. That brings to the total number of plaintiffs who have won these cases more than there were 160 million combined in 6 previous bellwether suits. So now we have 8 wins by the plaintiffs and apparently no wins by 3M. You might think that 3M would understand that whatever they're trying to spin, the jury ain't buying it, but 3M said that they're simply disappointed, and it will raise issues raised in earlier appeals that they're not responsible. Hey, because the military was responsible for product design and all they did was manufacture. Memo to 3M, you might want to settle. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.